Welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and man, you can taste it. It is football time in Ohio, Schlegs. In the next 8 days, we will have a top 5 matchup against Indiana. We will have Thanksgiving. We'll have the Michigan game. It is all right here in front of you. November is for contenders, as per Jim Tressel. Ohio's feeling good, coming off a high of the Browns winning last night. Jameis Winston, the horses prepare for battle, but the victory belongs to the Lord in the pregame. Pulling out some proverbs right there. It was truly amazing. I'm watching the snow globe last night thinking, man, how great would it be to have maybe a little snow for Michigan, maybe a little snow for Indiana in the shoe. Just, I don't need rain, just a little bit of snow, because gosh, it looked beautiful last night up on the lake in Cleveland during that game. This Ohio State-Indiana game, it's big. Getting closer to it, it's starting to settle in the fact with me that Indiana, although being Indiana, is a top 5 matchup. It's one that everybody's talking about. You've got College Game Day here. Pat McAfee's going to be in Columbus, Ohio today, ready to rock and do his show out there. Our guy AJ Hawk's going to be down there with him. You've got Big Noon tomorrow. Like, everything is surrounding it. Ryan Day continuing to talk about the importance of the crowd noise. And he does his coach's show, which you can hear on 97.1 The Fan every Thursday, and then statewide on ONN. And it's unbelievable that he afterwards talked to Keels. He goes, listen, give this to Bob and Beam. We need this, and explain the importance of why you need to be loud and what that does to the silent count. Indiana typically, so they're one of the hand clapper teams. And for the silent count, Ryan starts talking like, well, the center, then you can't hear the clap. So they go on the head bob, and maybe it's on the second bob, but the center has to move around. He can't see. And so there's a lot of elements that you can get into there and how important that can potentially be. So Ryan outlining that, wanting everybody to be loud, not just on third down, Schlegs, not just on second, first down, can be loud anytime the offense isn't on the field. Celebrate, get juiced up, be fired up. I just, maybe it's because I had a cup of coffee because I stayed at my parents' last night and was up till like 1 o'clock and then drove back up to the studio to do my morning radio. And there you go, just sucking down your morning Joe. But I feel like a renewed vigor, a renewed sense about what this can potentially be.
Yeah, I mean, nothing like coffee at 12:30, Bob, and, shots of espresso. And we talked about this, I believe, the other day when it's Friday. Pat's already pre-gaming. Pat's doing his show today. They're going to have probably Ryan. He'll have Kurtz and Yeti on there. He's pre-gaming everybody up. Everybody after work today, start pre-gaming, show up, right? Maybe get a little bit of Kahlua in that coffee in the morning. You can do that. That's okay. It's just like creamer, but it has some
Creamer,
alcohol
you don't even know
content.
her, Schlegs.
Exactly. So, Ryan, what we'll talk about in our keys to the game. But how do you, and somebody had a great question, like third downs, right? And Bob, I appreciate your stats. We love numbers, real numbers. They're 17th in the country on defense on third down. Could they be a little bit better? Yeah, 100%. But
31% though. I mean, that's
31%. Like, that's amazing, right? That's amazing. We know that, Bob. Like the gold standard was like 35%, I believe, when we were in college.
Yeah.
And you get a Buckeye leaf. If you hold a team to under 35%, you get a dub. You get a Buckeye leaf for that. But I don't know. Anyways, I just say that to say this. How do you win on third down? You win on first and second down. That's why Ryan's alluding to anytime they have the football, like, you got to be loud, because the head bob matters. You can start to get timing. You can start to predict things. There's a lot of subtle nuances,
Love
guys.
a good head bob, Schlegs.
No doubt you do, Bob. And there's subtle nuances in the game when you can time up to have a competitive advantage to get off to get off the football, right? So one, teams that come up and they run a lot of the no huddle and tempo stuff, well, you lose the advantage of the play clock. We've seen teams that like to run it down because they want to have more time possession against Ohio State. Well, as that number starts to dwindle and you get to 5, the guy's not getting a second head bob in there. Boom. As soon as he head bobs, I'm getting off the ball, charging it to winning, because you can time up certain things. That's how you're able to time up your blitzes, right? Like, that's why those things matter. That's why it's imperative that the crowd is engaged, right? Our guys are going to be up for this because it's a big, top 5 matchup, and everything they want for their season is still in front of them. They just have to go out there and execute on Saturday.
Yeah, they got to go get it. We'll talk. We're going to have Cardale Jones joining us here in the next segment. Excited to get his take. Absolutely. Get a Buckeye, talk about Indiana. And it's a little bit of a different Indiana team. But like, you were, I believe, were you on the staff when it was at Indiana? I believe 50-49 was the final score. Am I correct in saying that? Were you there for that tight one with Urban?
I don't remember.
Probably,
maybe. I don't know what year. What year was that, Bob?
I don't know. It was one of the years.
OU v. Indiana. What was the score?
It was 49, like 48 or 50-49. It was a 1-point game, lots of scoring. I'm sure Herbs wasn't happy about that. 52-49 in 2012. You were there for it.
I was 100% there. Hey, that was and that year, guys, I think that might have been earlier in the season.
Yeah, it was warm out. It was like probably week 5 or 6. It was fairly early.
I think it was before the Michigan State game. Honestly, I don't remember. Listen, man, I've been hit a lot. Okay, so we're talking. You're trying to resurrect detailed information from 12 years ago. I can barely remember what happened yesterday. Like, I slightly recall our conversations. So let alone that. But I do know this: Ohio State 30-1 versus Indiana over the last 31 meetings. Pretty bumpy. However, this ain't the same type of Indiana squad. And I'll say this too. Kurt Cignetti's done a really nice job. Use the portal, right? Again, the portal can be used in the right way for roster management. He also used it for cultural development in his program and bringing over people from JMU, adding more experience. This defense and why they are playing well, they have a lot of guys that have played a lot of ball. 10 of their 11 starters on defense came from the portal. That's significant. But again, how does that work? It's the culture, it's the mess, it's coaching, it's the guys in the room being able to embrace that. Like, they haven't been there all the time. They haven't been around the other guys for 4 years, but they're all in. They're all invested in Indiana. I think that's why they're having success. But then I go back in this game and I look at their last 2 games. Yeah, they go up 17-3 over Michigan going into half, but they only scored 3 points for the remaining part of that game. A lot of the things that Michigan did, they end up controlling the line of scrimmage. Their defensive tackles played very, very well. I look at that as kind of being some of the edge that we have here at Ohio State on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, you need that edge. You got to get after it. And to give a little more color to this, Indiana, like, since World War II, the conclusion of that.
That's a long time ago.
Indiana has won 4 times against Ohio State. Now, they didn't play every year, but this is a historic team that started playing against Ohio State all the way back in 1901. So they played each other for over 120 years. They have played, what would that be, 84, 86. They played 96 times. Ohio State has won 79 of them. Indiana winning 12, 5 ties. So we always look at this like, Buckeyes, this is a game you should win. This is a game you're supposed to win. This Indiana team is good. They will force you to beat them. I've said this all week. Kurt Cignetti, they will execute well. Curtis Rourke, really good quarterback. And I listened to a little bit of his story this week, Schlegel, and it was pretty remarkable, where he gets in the portal, he's leaving Ohio University. And always kind of felt close to him, like his younger brother or his older brother missed my brother at OU by a year, I believe. And so I'd called some of their games. I'd followed him. I interviewed his brother. And not quite as tall, a little better athletes, played in Canada, done a good job. But he's getting ready to leave. And, he was talking about where to go. And he goes, doors just kept, I had a couple places. And why Indiana? He goes, well, other doors just kept closing. I prayed on it. Try to figure it out. And he's like, other doors just kept closing and closing. So Indiana was that door that was opened. He goes, and that's when I knew, like, this is the place where I'm supposed to be. And he's a good player. He's probably late day 2, early day 3 draft pick, somewhere between probably mid to late 3rd, 5th rounder, playing pretty good football, has a lot of the intangibles. They've got some talented wideouts, especially Surratt. Surratt out there does a good job. He can back shoulder, and Curtis Rourke throws the back shoulder probably as well as anybody. So we'll get into some of our keys to the game and what ultimately needs to happen. But like you talked about, starting fast, getting the noise going, getting Ohio Stadium rocking. It's a noon game. I don't care what you got to do to get down there. Figure that thing out and get ready to go and get it cranking. If they can do that, that'll enhance the defense. And honestly, for the defensive players, I told the guys, and I've been telling them, get the crowd into it. That's your job. Offense, you don't want the crowd going at home. Defense, pump those guys up, make plays, celebrate, have infectious energy, and that will permeate the stadium and get everybody going in such a huge way. So going along, we got Cardale Jones waiting on us. We're going to get back and come back with you with the national championship winning quarterback, our guy 12 Gauge here, talk about some of the keys to the game, what he wants to do, what he thinks about this game, all coming up next here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
The Big Play Sports Network. Download the free app today to watch all of your favorite hosts on demand.
I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like... I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer. All right, welcome back to the Bobby Carpenter Show. I want to tell you about our friends over at Export Mouthguards. Protect what matters most with Export Mouthguards, trusted by professional athletes, designed by NHL team dentists. Export Mouthguards are scientifically proven and tested to help your protecting hits from both your teeth and your brain. Their Export Mouthguards feature 3 layers of advanced protection, carbon fiber, patented, customized, 3D printed right to your grill for more comfort, better protection, maximum performance, clear communication. It does it all. Focus on your game, not on your gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Go to exportguards.com, 15%/Bobby. That's going to tell you what to do, and make sure you protect what matters most. Cardale Jones, right here. Welcome him in. 12 Gauge himself. He's up. He's ready. He's rocking. He's going to be traveling this weekend. Cardale, you see Indiana for the longest time. Like, okay, always check that usually in the win box. Now, you were there on the team. Schlegel seemed to forget about it, and he was on the staff. That 52-49 victory, I believe, in Bloomington in 2012. But outside of that, these games have largely been games where they've stretched, and it's been good. So how do you change that mentality when you're taking on a team like Indiana? And I know there's the 5 there, but is there any worry that you still see the same jersey and you're thinking, okay, this team may not be that all that it's cracked up to be?
I think that's always the worry as a player, and making sure that guys don't look past teams and saying this is the same old Indiana. But if you take away that logo and you take away that name and you look at their resume, this is a really good team that you better not sleep on. I know traditionally Schlegel has mentioned Ohio State in the last 31 matchups, 30-1 versus them. But he hit the nail right on the head. This is not the same Indiana team. This is not the same Indiana culture. And by far, these are not the same Indiana players. Everything that Coach Zanetti has done in the portal and really developing and changing that culture and really getting those guys to believe. It's a difference. And you guys know this being former players. It's a difference when you're playing for a coach that you believe in, that you genuinely love, that you feel and believe that he loves you and wants you to do your best as well. And that's what Indiana has, and it's the perfect storm for them to pretty much try to come into Columbus and upset the Buckeyes.
And when you're looking at this game, and from an offensive perspective, you got a guy, Mikhail Kamara, he transferred Jay Madison, right? Like, And that's the thing. There's a lot of good football players that people don't know because everybody's looking at when they come out of high school, how many stars they got, X, Y, and Z. This guy transfers from James Madison, leading the nation in 51 pressures, got 10 sacks. Defense is playing really, really good. Top 10 defense in the country. What are you looking at the Buckeyes having to do in this game to have success starting out in the game?
I think the biggest thing is going to be try to find a way to get the run game going. I know they just had another injury with Seth at center, so that's going to cause some more shuffling around in the offensive line. But another thing outside of that, getting the run game going, Schlegel, I love the hat running down ball, is that getting the ball out of Will Howard's hands fast as possible. And I know Chip Kelly and Ryan Day with their creative ability and play calling, they're going to try to slow these pass rushers down because of the reconstruction of all these last 5 to 6 weeks of the offensive line. You don't want to give that team Indiana the momentum, especially on defense, because I guarantee you they're licking their chops right now at this reconstructed offensive line where guys are playing out of position or positions that they're not used to playing, or guys coming in and getting reps that they're usually not used to getting.
Talk a little bit about that. You mentioned, the reconstructed offensive line, center being out, in the quarterback center relationship, what responsibilities are on the center, like how that could impact everything?
Oh, extremely. I think just from, Ohio State is not the same Ohio State when I played, when 99.9% was going out of shotgun. So really those center exchange kind of didn't matter, but they did in a way. So you got to understand that when they go under center, the quarterbacks are really, creature of habits of understanding how they want the ball snapped, anticipating the snap. I mean, I remember my centers used to snap the ball on ready, set, go, because my go was so fast and the ball was coming on the last of that set. So little things like that is critical, and especially when they do a lot of things in the running game and play action game from under center. That exchange had to be critical, and then that communication. And then I know Will Howard the quarterbacks are usually calling the cadence now, but getting the offensive line used to hearing different voices as he's making the checks and the re-mics up there as well. And hopefully, thank God, I think Ohio State will deal with this later on, potentially in the Big Ten championship game if they win this one in the playoffs. But when you go silent count, that little hesitation after the center or the guard gives his indication that the offensive line is ready. They probably anticipating Seth to snap that thing right when those hands is coming back. And maybe now I think Carson's going to be starter. Maybe it'll be delayed faster, it's a little faster or slower. So all of those things just take reps. But, I don't think that that's going to be a big of a deal today just because it's a home game. But that's an emphasis I know as a quarterback I would want to get on as far as building that relationship in that time with my center.
Having played in crazy loud environments, and we've heard Ryan and the guys talking about Buckeye Nation showing up, being loud, all these different things. What does that environment do to a quarterback and an offense when they can't hear themselves think? And we're talking start to finish. You got to be in this game, Buckeye Nation. What does that do really?
It eliminates the communication at the line of scrimmage. It causes some hecticness when on a sideline as well. But you got to remember, so you coming from systems where you're giving those quarterbacks a lot of flexibility at the line of scrimmage to check and change, and that communication has to happen from the big guys up front, all five of them, making sure they hear you, to the wideouts on the outside. So when it's loud, clearly it makes that communication a lot harder, and it just makes every little thing. If we're at home and you get a 3-yard run and you get those 3 yards, you're happy that the crowd is cheering, but you on the road and the defense stop you for 3 yards and they cheering. Now those 3 yards don't feel important as the road team because this team is loud because we only just got 3 yards, but we kind of on pace. So you have some of that mental aspect of it as well, where the crowd is just making every little thing that much better, and it's so much rewarding for them, from big hits to small hits to incompletes to a 3-yard game.
We're talking to Cardale Jones, former Ohio State Buckeye. Give him a follow on Instagram, Cardale7_ at CJ12 on X, CBS Sports Desk as well. Doing a great job there. So make sure you follow him everywhere and check him out. Now, Cardale, you played quarterback, you played in big games. This is Will Howard now. This will be his third top 5 game at Ohio State. He's a guy who's played a ton of football. Mindset, mentality. What does he have to get done? What does it have to look like for him on Saturday afternoon for this team to be successful?
Well, we're not talking about a freshman quarterback here who's never been in this environment. We're not talking about a guy who's going into his 8th to 10th start of the season. This is a veteran leader. This is a guy who's been around the block. This is a guy who played a lot of big-time football already, and not just at Ohio State, dating back to his K-State days. So I would continue to tell him to be you. You know, Ohio State – lack of success as us fans may look at certain situations. In the Nebraska game, we wanted probably more points. We probably wanted more points versus Penn State and things like that. Those lack of success as a fan has nothing to do with Will Howard. I mean, you go back and look at his stats. You go back to look at his performance in these games. He's right on par with some of the top Heisman Trophy contenders. So he has never been to this point in the season, the crutch for this team or holding this team back, getting it done in the air and on the ground. But for him, my message would be simple, and I guarantee you, Ryan Day and Chip Kelly, it is go out there and be you. Play, continue to play for you, continue to play loose, and continue to make great decisions with the football.
When you're looking at this Ohio State defense versus this, Indiana offense, what are some of the things that you want to see from the defensive side of the ball in this matchup to give us a competitive advantage in this game?
Two things. You got to make Curtis work uncomfortable. The offensive line of Indiana is a really good offensive line, but I don't think they have been challenged to this factor of a defensive line in our front seven. And then you got to make those big guys on the outside. I mean, these guys are great 50-50 ball catchers outside of just great receivers. This is another great receiving core, just like Oregon. I think Oregon got maybe a step or two above these guys, but this is going to be the best receiving core Ohio State have seen since Oregon. And I think we all still remember how some of the guys didn't perform to their standards on the back end versus Oregon. So a great opportunity for the back end to have another great showing versus rod outs and the receiving core that's as good as just anyone's out there in the country. But it starts with making Curtis work uncomfortable, because right now I think he's one of the least sacked quarterbacks in the country. On top of Indiana is a team that's given him so much time. He's back there, really picking you apart.
Well, one of the things that they do really well, you talk about those wide outs and going against the DBs, Cardale, the 50-50 balls, is Surratt's really good, and Rourke throws those really good back shoulders. What's the secret to executing on that offensively? And then is there a coverage? Is there a way guys play it that could make it more difficult for them to be able to complete those?
That is the most unguardable pass and location you could throw it to, because one, it usually coming off some type of vertical route. And as a quarterback, I'm saying, hey, if that DB is on top of my receiver, we used to call it paintballs. We used to hit them in the back of the head, scrape the paint off the top of their helmets, because if you're aiming for the back shoulder, it usually go a little low. So if you're aiming for the helmet, boom, hopefully you hit them in the shoulder. That was the type of thing. And then on the flip side, if a DB want to anticipate that, well, how do you stop a back shoulder? You got to be on his back hip. Well, I'm going to throw it over your head. So the timing and ball placement really determines those back shoulders. I think they're unguardable. You don't go out there and say, hey, I'm going to throw you a back shoulder. That's when you really mess them up. You react to the back shoulders. So if I'm a receiver, I'm trying to beat this guy over top for a fade or a go ball, and he got the best position and not letting me get over top, I'm expecting my quarterback to hit me on the back shoulder. It's not a route that you run and say, I'm about to get this back shoulder. It's something you react to as a receiver.
Hey, Indiana is one of the best teams in the red zone in scoring touchdowns. Bobby had a great stat the other day. I think it was like 49 touchdowns or something like that, Bob. And then defensively, Ohio State is the best team in the country in red zone defense. And we've seen a lot of goal line stands. How imperative, right, is this game to where, Ohio State, you got to score touchdowns in the red zone, and defensively, you got to hold them to field goals, et cetera. Like, how important is that? And what does that do when you're not able to capitalize in the red zone to an offense?
Oh, it's extremely important on both sides, because they both know they're priding themselves. I guarantee you, in their offensive meeting room, they have that stat up of, top 3 in red zone scoring, and they hold their heads high on that. And I guarantee you, the defensive side of the room for the Buckeyes, so Silver Bullets has #1 in red zone stops. So when you are a defense or offense or just a team period that has an identity, and they take that away from you, it's demoralizing. So Indiana go out there and drive the field and drive down the field and get in the red zone. Ohio State come out with a stop. They're going to start second guessing. So like, hold on, maybe we're not as good as we thought. And vice versa. If Indiana get down in the red zone and they scoring touchdowns left and right, Ohio State defense is going to be like, wait a minute now. Well, we're supposed to be the top guys. Maybe we not as good. So sticking to what you're good at, continue to have that identity for both teams in the red zone is going to be critical for just the mental state of those defenses in their offense.
What's the mentality, Cardale? Because this team started a little slow, and that's been something that people have kind of had issue with. The first drive, maybe the first two drives, don't always look great on both sides of the ball. Offensively, though, what's the secret to starting fast? And there's some people like the script stuff, try to figure things out. Chip, once he gets a beat on them, they're really good. But how do you try to script for success early on and try to be able to start fast?
I think with this team, I think I start off with trying to, get the big guys comfortable up front. And that's one thing that I remember going into, starting games was, okay, let's get this guy comfortable. The limited reps under his belt, all mop-up duty. This new offensive line, these guys playing different positions. So let's get these guys comfortable. Let's settle these guys in because these guys are going to be so anxious to get out there and hit somebody else and show they should have been playing and all this other stuff. Let's get these guys comfortable and see what we got right now. And Ohio State has always been, to me, even from the time I was playing, a defensive, offensive team. And I say that by saying this, coming out traditionally slow, but ultimately getting that rhythm, figuring that offense or that defense out, and just going on the attack. And usually we look at that and call it a second half team. This is one of the best teams in the country of making those adjustments in the second half. But we have seen through Ryan Day's career up until this point, those quick adjustments are happening a little bit faster than the second half of waiting to get to halftime and really, dissecting the team and getting them all together. They're so good at making those adjustments on the fly now, where that's where I go back to that term. They're kind of a defensive, offensive team. Once they get comfortable and know and feel like, okay, we got you, we can see what we can do. And maybe this part of the script or the game plan is going out the window because the first 2 to 3 drives is not working. And that's where I think Ryan Day and Chip Kelly are the best of really just attacking.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up a great point because it's like, they had 2 drives North versus Northwestern beginning of the game, kind of longer drives. First one took like 7 minutes. Bend don't break. And then all of a sudden, boom, Northwestern scores. Now it's 20, but then it's 21-7 going into half. You get the ball back. Now it's 28-7. Do you think that is because, you have Ryan that's not necessarily the OC and the head coach and just that relationship with Chip, and they're just so on point with each other that we can make those adjustments on the fly before you get to halftime?
For sure. I think their relationship, their philosophy, their mindset is hand in hand. When it comes to just calling plays on the fly and understanding what the offense and what certain players may need at certain times, you kind of see that trend. You see them getting certain guys involved in a game plan earlier than later, just getting guys really comfortable so before they start to attack these guys. So that's the thing that's a testament of their relationship going back over 20 years.
All right, before we get you out of here, Cardale, we appreciate the time. Kind of your thoughts on how you see this game going. How do you see it breaking for the Buckeyes at noon on Saturday?
I think this game is going to be a lot closer than what people think. I already gave a prediction of 31-17, and that don't look as close as people may think, but I think Buckeyes get some type of late touchdown in the fourth quarter. But this is a great Indiana team. And we talked about all week how Indiana, if they're deserving to be in the playoffs, if they lose and how they lose and what that really means, the quality of loss versus the win. I can guarantee you Kurt Sonetti has been clipping all of these things the media has been saying, myself included, about how Indiana need to lose this game versus Indiana coming into Columbus and getting this win and punching their ticket to the Big Ten championship game for the first time in school history as far as this new structure of the ultimate championship game. So I think the Buckeyes, stay true to themselves. They don't need to do anything out of worldly or out of their character to get this win. I know they're dealing with some injuries up front, but these guys are more than capable enough to step into these shoes and add some significant production in the run game and the pass game for these Buckeyes.
Absolutely. Well, Cardale Jones, we really appreciate it. Thank you for spending some time with us today. Have safe travels this week. Do a great job on the desk for CBS, and talk to you soon, sir.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me as always.
Buckeye National Championship quarterback, kind enough to spend some time with us here today. I got a lot of stuff going on today, Schlegs. Big show. We're take a break, get them right back to it. Dive on in to some more Buckeye talk here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
The Big Play Sports Network. Download the free app today to watch all of your favorite hosts on demand.
I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like... I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer. All right, welcome back in. It's the Bobby Carpenter Show, and happy to have you with us here as we keep cruising along. Cardale Jones did a fantastic job with everything. And, one of the things we never, really broke down, Schlegs, and we've got a little clip of it here in the show sheet when we start talking about Curt Cignetti and, off of the Pat McAfee show, him being 10-0 to start his coaching career and, what he's been able to do, how he brought this college football campus alive, if we want to toss that up there. Because, Schlegs, this Indiana team is kind of sprouted up out of nowhere. He got the new contract. He got the big deal. He's kind of done everything that they had hoped that he would be able to bring together. And, they rewarded him with that. And I don't think anybody really anticipated, this eruption from Indiana in 2024.
No, you didn't, because of everything that there's so much gray in portal and NIL and other schools want to invest in that. And they went out and they redid their weight room, right? He brought a strength coach in from JMU. And how can you flip a culture in a span of 10 months, right? And how do you get these guys in to come in and buy into what it is that you're selling? He did a great job. And we alluded to it the other day, Bob, when we talked about, I think maybe I did, when I discussed, he's like, yeah, I sat down with my wife and my agent, and, this is exactly what I envisioned for myself. And it's right here in Indiana. And now you got an 8-year, $72 million contract after being there for 1 year and having that success. And we saw the stats off of that, coaching career thing for guys that start their career at 10-0. Yeah, Curt Cignetti. Yeah, guess what? Ryan Day. Guess what? Urban Meyer. In that year, he went undefeated in 2012. I was part of that. See, I remember that we went undefeated because we would have played against Notre Dame, would have won that game. Alabama boat raced them. Don't know if we boat raced Alabama because they got hot there at the end, but I definitely know we would have beaten Notre Dame. Then you had Earl Bruce on there and then a couple other dudes back in the 40s. So he's done a phenomenal job. He also, I'm not going to say it's luck, but it's winning with what you got, right? Like their schedule hasn't necessarily been the strongest, right? It's the 106th, 105th ranked schedule. But more importantly, they've got to this point of being number 5 because they handled their business in the manner in which you should be handling your business versus that type of competition. And so when you're averaging 43 points a game and you're only giving up 13 points a game on defense, that looks really, really good. Now you're going to be tested. You're going on the road, top 5 matchup versus number 2 team in the country. And the brand of the Big Ten being Ohio State, what can you do? That's what he's thinking about. And again, they're also coming off a bye. And one thing I will say about this Indiana team,
say it, baby.
They are very, very well coached. Like week in and week out, they execute at a high level. So I do believe this game will be closer than people are thinking, simply for the fact that I think that they're a well-coached team. You're also coming off of a bye. And I just think it's going to be a great game at noon on Saturday.
Absolutely. I'm excited for it. McAfee thinks so too. They popped up out of nowhere on them talking about all of it.
Appreciate you pointing out the fact that other teams like Texas haven't had like this strongest schedule. And obviously Penn State, they lose to Ohio State and they come back and do their thing. In Indiana being judged differently. I legitimately appreciate you saying that because they are a team that's popped up out of nowhere. Literally. Cignetti just signed the biggest deal a college football coach has ever signed in the state of Indiana. I mean, you're talking just a massive, massive number for good reason because they sold that stadium out for the first time, I think, like in forever, let's just say. It's become a football campus, a football university. And I think there's going to naturally be some people that are a little bit harsher on their football team versus others, which is why football judgment matters so much.
Absolutely. And one of the things that he's brought, Schlegel, there, the thing that he selling out the stadium is something they never did. There's a juice around the program. They almost didn't believe it at the beginning. And so just everybody, make sure this isn't the same old Indiana squad that is out there. Schlegel, you were talking about some of the rankings. Well, let's get to this and we can look in the headlines and find out where Ohio State is ranked, where Indiana is ranked, and how that ultimately looks and how they compare. We'll hit that in our headlines. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Bobby Carpenter. I want to give a huge thank you and a shout out to Affinity Whole Health, the leaders in the testosterone replacement industry. I've been on a testosterone replacement program for a few years right now, and I've got to tell you, it's been an absolute game changer. Affinity Whole Health has allowed me to be the best version of myself, both mentally and physically. I loved how easy it was to get started. I booked my free consultation, met with my prescriber, checked my numbers, and Affinity Whole Health designed a program that was customized to fit my needs. So I'm telling you guys, if you have low energy, you want to get rid of that spare tire around the waist or take it to the next level in the bedroom, Affinity Whole Health is the place to get started. So don't wait any longer. 5 minutes of your time, book your free consultation. You're going to love the way you feel. Welcome in to our headlines brought to you by our friends over at Affinity Whole Health. They offer personalized treatment programs to help people feel better. Whether you're struggling with weight loss, low energy, muscle loss, poor sleep, they can help you with all of it. And so here's what they're going to do. They've got these personalized programs that are going to fit your needs. You go to affinitywholehealth.com, you set up your free consultation. You go there and they'll figure out, listen, we'll do some labs, we'll do some tests, we'll figure out your goals, what you want to achieve. Maybe you want to add some muscle. We have a TRT program. Maybe you want to lose a little weight. We got semaglutide for that. We can blend them together. No matter how old you are, no matter your dudette, they've got programs for everything. And then when you go home, you sign up, they take care of it. Boom, 2 days later, it's shipped directly to your house. You're not wasting time driving around and having to go back in to the store for treatment. So go check them out at affinitywholehealth.com. They're Columbus, they're Cleveland, they're in Indianapolis, they're in Chicago. They are everywhere. I'm going to throw that clip up, Pat, where we're talking about Indiana, where they rank, Indiana undefeated, and we start talking about some of their national rankings versus Ohio State. So this Ohio State team, we talk about this, where they're ranked statistically. I don't think stats are the most important thing in the world, but they do help tell a story. And it kind of just tells you a little bit, Schlegel, and lets you know what you already know, or maybe what you already believe. Scoring offense in the Big Ten or in nationally, Indiana, second, 43.9 points per game. Ohio State was up there in the top five. They've slid back a little bit. And I don't think Ryan's been putting the gas on as much as he was maybe earlier. They're sitting 11th, 38.6 points per game. Scoring defense, 13.8. Seventh in the country. Ohio State second with 10.7. So two teams ranked top 11 in both major categories.
Yeah, I mean, and IU, another one is they're number one in the country against the run by like 7 yards, only allowing 72 yards a game. And Ohio State's right there with them. So, again, when we talk about like this offense and what they're doing, for Indiana and our offense, right? The beautiful thing, it still goes back to being able to run the football and stop the run. Like that's what it comes down to, because that's how you win on third down, people. You got to win first and second down. They want to run the football. We want to run the football. It sets the tone. It allows you to chew up clock. It allows you to move the sticks. It allows you to have success on third down, because third and short is significantly greater than third and medium or third and long, especially when you're playing against really good competition. But they did this. I mean, this is a transformation, and that's where I look at how they handled their business, not necessarily strength of schedule and all that, because we can say the same daggum thing for a Texas, right? They're both sitting there with only one win versus a bowl-eligible team. When we looked at that the other day, Bob, on the show, the thing is they're doing it the right way. And if you take off the brand of Indiana and you put anybody else, right, within that mix, SEC, Big Ten, they're number one in the country. They're 1 and 2 versus Oregon, right? Like, pick your poison. So it's just going to be a great matchup. Excited to see this. It's going to go down to how you execute. And I really think we're going to see what this game's going to be in that first quarter. We're going to know what's going on. And going back to Cardale's point, I think Chip and Ryan being in lockstep with each other, those adjustments have come significantly faster on the offensive side of the ball in the first half as opposed to waiting for the second half.
Absolutely. You cannot wait. You got to get those done early. It's not halftime adjustments. It's adjustments in game. You have an iPad. They've got an iPad. They've got tablets. Everybody's got them. So you've got to make sure that you're able to utilize those and make those corrections quicker, because if you don't, they will. All right. We got our tailgate talk coming up next, brought to you by Real Truck. Here's what we're going to get. We got one good question in there, Schlegs. We're going to each get our 3 keys to the game, and we're going to hear from Tim Walton in his Thoughtful Thursday to get you juiced up heading in there before we lead you into Due to the Week. Still a massive show. Stay locked in here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
The Big Play Sports Network. Download the free app today to watch all of your favorite hosts on demand.
Get the most out of work, life, and all your outdoor adventures with top-selling upgrades for your truck. Guaranteed fit, free shipping, easy install, expert support, and thousands of dealers just a click away. Bring your truck to life. Real Truck. Upgrade today and save between $50 and $400 on select Real Truck products. Visit realtruck.com/specials.
All right, welcome into Tailgate Talk, brought to you by our friends, Boom, at Real Truck. Hat change, Schlegs. All you got to do, they've got great gear there. They've got unbelievable stuff for your truck, for your Jeep, for your Bronco, all the things you want, all the brands, stuff from all around. They will get it to you, just like Schlegs and I have taken care of my Jeep, my truck, whatever. Yeah. Here's the deal they have for you. Go to realtruck.com. If you spend $100, use promo code Bobby at checkout. Boom. You're going to get yourself a free hat. Maybe you keep the hat for Christmas. You give the stuff as a gift. Maybe the stuff you bought. Maybe the stuff you buy is for yourself, and you can use the hat for a gift. It's all in play. Just go to realtruck.com. Use promo code Bobby at checkout. You spend $100, you get the hat. All right. I want to get this one tweet, Schlegs, that I think is pretty important. It was coming to us from Randy Gillespie. Are we going to get pressure on the QB this week? What I should say is with Sawyer and JT. I think Curry has to be at least 35 to 40% of the snaps. Caden Curry, that is. He's better pass rusher than Sawyer, definitely. So I'm asking, what do y'all think? And Schlegs, I'll start a little bit with this. I'll let you go. Every of these guys have different gifts. I'd say Caden Curry's a very adept pass rusher. Key is rotation. They'll play some of those guys together. They've got a package where they'll put Kenyatta in there with Caden and Jack and JT. A lot of stunts. Curious who's going to come free, but I think you're going to see a good dose of some of those young guys tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, Edric Houston going into a 3 technique, right? There's it's all about down and distance. It's all about predicating upon what you want to do. Like, you just can't throw them out there. Oh, we got to go rush the passer. Might be 3rd and 3, and we got to be able to set the edge and have big bodies in there. Like, it just is different. The game, you don't get to determine how the game goes. You have a thought process going in, and then you're going to put the best guys in for the situation. But to your point, Bob, that goes with the D-line rotation. The thing is, we got a lot of guys. Hey, another question would be, what about C.J. Hickson there all the time too? Yeah. You got an abundance of talent, right? But that talent has to be used within the situations. But you got to get to the situations. Because Cardale also talked about it. Rourke hasn't been sacked a lot this year. Well, how do you get to be able to sack a dude? You got to put them in the 3rd and long in the situations where you know they're going to be able to pass. And then if it's not, it's 3rd and medium, you got to get home. Where that's through pressure, because Sonny Styles last week had 2 sacks. Yeah. Right? So it's like, hey, my thing is, as long as we get pressure, I don't care who's out there. But I will say this, to your point, I do love Caden Curry's motor.
Absolutely. They got some high motor guys, packages. Some of it's the calls, how aggressive they are. Some of it's man. The guys are just adding in the rush on the linebacker level, which has helped a lot. All right, so we got our 3 keys to victory. I'm going to hit you with mine real quick here. Number 1. For Indiana, they're going to be multiple up front. They're coming off a bye week defensively. New center, Carson Hinsman's got to do a great job up front. He's replacing a guy who's played a lot of football. Carson started all last year. He's played a lot the last couple of weeks, but you got to identify the fronts. It's tough to block it up if you don't block the right guys. Making sure you're identifying the fronts. Second, tackle well. This Indiana team, like, they don't have a ton of guys that are game breakers. If you don't let them out, they're not going to go make it. So tackling well in the run game, tackling well on the back end, that goes part and parcel with explosives. I think Ohio State can create some explosives on offense. Limit them on defense. You have better athletes offensively. Take some shots. Indiana's good against the run. See if you can get Trey to crack one. He's got the speed to obviously pick up big yards. And then the last piece, 3rd down. You've got to be great on 3rd down offensively. Indiana's been pretty good. You can't let them leak out like Northwestern early on. Cut the head off the snake. You were 6 for 16 last week. I want to see you hold Indiana under 35% this week. You do that, you win the game.
Yeah, I got Amazon Prime, Bob, and I saw this last night with Jameis Winston. You know, I got 3 doves to my keys, and hopefully they'll be there at 3 o'clock on Saturday because I'm ordering them in time, and they're really fast and efficient. I just said this to all the points that you said, win the line of scrimmage. That goes in with, you know, the new continuity, right? But I believe in Fryer and I believe in Donnie, right? And I think they're going to get it done because I love Carson. Teger's been playing well. You got Austin in there. Let's go. Win the line of scrimmage. Win 3rd down. You already said it. We know why. It's imperative to get off the field hard. But the last one is win the red zone. That's both sides of the football. Both teams are really good scoring in the red zone, right? But it's the defense that can win the red zone is the one that can win this football game.
Tim Walton, Dude of the Week, coming up next.
The Big Play Sports Network. Download the free app today to watch all of your favorite hosts on demand.
I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and doesn't taste like... I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer. Thoughtful Thursday. Tim sends it over each and every week. Here we go.
Thoughtful Thursday. Jesus the reason. I've been down in the deep, struggling and praying for weeks. Something ain't right within my soul if I can't hear what he speaks. Spiritually battling the beast, trying to take over my peace. I started fasting and reaching places I couldn't even see. Now I'm covered in power. Watch it take over my lungs, speaking life into the dreams people told me were done. Gotta believe, man, in the power of the word, right? Hey, make sure we take care of our business, man. Y'all know what we got at stake. Brotherhood is real. Love y'all boys, man. We on a mission, baby. Ready?
All right, Schlegs, dude of the week.
Brotherhood is real. All right, man. Hey, listen, I want dudettes of the week, plural. The Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano fight. Yeah, there's a Jake Paul, whatever Mike Tyson thing that was. Those women, those are dudettes right there. That was a bloody combat. I think it should have been a draw, but that was an amazing fight to watch. Yeah. Just two dudettes, alpha females, just scrapping it out right there. Those are my dudettes of the week.
So my dude of the week, Jay Leno. Schlegs, the guy, he looks like a pirate. He's got a cast on his wrist. Dude's, I think, in his 70s. Tells people, how did it happen? Well, he fell down a hill outside of the Hampton Inn stand. First of all, Jay Leno's got like 1,000 sports cars worth $1 billion. What are we doing standing at a Hampton Inn? Second of all, how do you fall down a hill and get a black eye? That doesn't happen. That's a bad story. I would have told my parents, Schlegs, in high school.
Yeah, that's amazing. Matter of fact, I think I have fallen down a hill, but I never wore an eye patch. I think that's completely false. What is he doing at a Hampton Inn? I mean, pick something that's slightly nicer, like I stayed at a Marriott, or a Holiday Inn Express or something like that. Hampton, I don't know about that one.
Because it's not a real story. That's why. It's a terrible one. It didn't work out. There's no way that's really happened. Maybe he got beat up leaving a Diddy party. I have no idea what happened. Who knows? But it's not the Hampton Inn falling down a hill story. That concludes today. Schlegs, what do you got for your score for the Buckeyes?
Ooh, I had 31-20.
I've got 28-13. We'll see you on Monday. Stay locked in, 12:30 at noon, to break down what hopefully is a Buckeye win on the Bobby Carpenter Show.